Well, good morning to you and welcome to another edition of Expert Alert. I'm your host, Jim Tabor, and this is where we bring in experts from different areas along the Gulf Coast as far as their expertise. And today we have it back in with us, Carrie and Jennifer Milligan from Strojny Financial. Good to have you here with us this morning.
Thank you.
And we're going to talk about a few different things that probably could affect quite a few of you out there. One of them, first off, being a little bit about the stock market. Remember the old movie Trading Places with Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy, and they were buy, sell. So, and the market right now seems to be at an all-time high. So should, if I got money invested in it, should I pull it out?
Well, so here we've got a lot of calls on this, Jim, so it's a good topic, especially with the election and everything in right practice. But first, let me say this, that, our advice is going to be general. So, you want to go to your financial advisor that you deal with for your unique situation for specific advice, because that's key, right? Mm-hmm. Because every situation is different. Now, having said that, one of the reasons got a lot of calls was because of the election, right? When we have these changes in administration and such. So probably, the two months before and now still going, we're getting calls about this. And we looked at it with some of the mutual fund companies. They had some outstanding studies that show really honestly, no matter who's in office and who holds the Congress, the range of the return on investments is pretty similar over time if you're going back over the last 80 years.
Oh, wow.
Okay? Yeah, and so we all there's generalizations between both parties, right? But having said that, the bigger part of this is, the parties can change, on the fiscal side, mm-hmm. Taxation and such, which we believe as far as President Biden's administration, there will not be a tax law change until 2022, okay? So we believe that may affect the market later, but in 2021, we saw Trump take more than a year to be able to, former President Trump take more than a year to pass his legislation for the tax overhaul. Former President Obama took over a year to get the Affordable Care Act passed. So it takes a little while to get these big legislation done. And honestly, with the pandemic, we don't see that changing, okay? Now, so that can change. They can change fiscal policy, but the biggest part of how the economy reacts and how the stock market reacts is with the Federal Reserve and where interest rates are, right?
Okay.
And right now we know we're in a very low interest rate environment, mm-hmm. which is good for the markets. Not good for the CD investor, right, or someone in a savings account.
Right.
But that will fuel, in the next bit. That's the most important part. So that's something to watch. And then third thing is a lot of people just focus on the Dow, so the Dow, they look at the Dow and they say, oh, what's the Dow doing today? The Dow is 30 stocks. So like in our portfolios, you're going to be diversified, right? You're going to be in domestic stocks, large and small. You're going to be in international equities. You're going to be in bonds, domestic and international. You're going to have a space where you're going to have real estate. You're going to have commodity, different things. So you're well diversified. So the majority of people just focus on that and don't realize that they're more diversified than just these 30 large stocks mm-hmm. when it moves up and down.
And that's similar with the S&P too. The S&P is a broader spectrum.
Right.
It's 500
right.
of the companies, but they are the larger companies, and so they're not reflective of everything in a diversified portfolio. So that's really important to note, that just because you see that may be 20-30% of your portfolio. It may not be, we're speaking in generalities, but like in the ones that we manage, that's only a portion of what's going on inside of the portfolio. So just because you see it moving on the screen doesn't mean you necessarily see that reflected in your account balance to that extent.
And I would say there's a psychological thing as well, besides they're worried, maybe about the administration or other things, right? And we're getting through this, knock on wood, we're getting towards the end, hopefully, or dealing better with COVID and restrictions and things along those lines, which will increase demand dramatically, mm-hmm. right? People want to move around and travel now and do things that they hadn't been able to do. So that's going to be a big part of this as we go forward. And over time, we think this is, again, we don't know how it's going to look, but if you're a long-term investor, the psychological thing right now is they look, well, we're at an all-time high. Right. Some people say we're all-time high. Well, right now, I have people when we get out of the market at 18,000 on the Dow. Where are we at? 30-some thousand, between 30 and 31,000 using the Dow as a barometer. So right now, so for a long-term investor, the biggest thing I always tell my clients, the thing you can control the most. Yes, we want to have a diversified portfolio that's good, and that is created towards you, because if you're closer to retirement, that's different than a 20-year-old.
Right. Yeah. And I was going to mention that. What's good for me is may not be as good for someone starting out in their 20s or so, that will have some money that they want to invest in different things.
Well, that's it, because it's not a cookie cutter answer. That's how we started this. You need to talk to your advisor, but that's going to be different. But the biggest thing that we can control as individual investors to create wealth for ourselves, or a stable financial retirement, is to make money, save the money, and invest the money. Right? It's simple, not easy, but simple. Right? And that's what we can really control as individuals. So, yeah.
Now, there's a lot of people that will go online and use those online investors and things like that, or companies. I'm kind of a little nervous about that, because I don't have somebody to sit there and help guide me along. So somebody first starting out, that probably would be best to come talk to y'all.
Well, we always feel like the professional advice is a good way to go. If you're going to go on, say, Robinhood or E-Trade or some of these other platforms, you just need to make sure you do your due diligence and your research, and that you have a good feeling, for what that you're doing, and that you understand the mechanics of how it works. I think where some people have gotten into trouble there is like not understanding margin, and going out where they're actually not using their own money to trade, but they're borrowing that money to trade and not even realizing that that's happening. I've heard some horror stories about that.
Wow.
And
that can come back on you.
And we see, the younger generation, just even my generation, I still like to talk to people. The younger, a little bit young, and this is generalization, but they're more comfortable maybe doing things online for themselves. In the beginning, it's not bad, but they do need probably get a little bit of advice. But where we see we really add value is when you're getting closer to retirement, because we do a lot of financial planning.
Right.
Because you need to know that numbers you need to hit for the quality of life that you want to have. And then where it really comes into play, we're very lucky because we're also tax experts, right? And so it's incredibly critical when we pull money out of retirement at the end. Where do we get the money? Where do we pull first? This IRA, a Roth IRA, this taxable account? That's where where we really can add value for people.
All of those distribution decisions are tax decisions.
Right.
And how you do that can affect the longevity of your portfolio. So it's important.
SBA paid my note for them for 6 months. How do I treat that money?
Yeah, so we've got people that have these, I think there's 7B loans out there with SBA, and they were not, SBA just sort of said, okay, take 6 months off from your payments and we'll cover it for you. So when they did that, that is going to be income for you. It's basically income replacement. They're saying, since you didn't make it, we're just going to take care of this for you. So the character is, it's compensation to your business. So you do that and deduct the interest just like you would had you paid it yourself with money that you made. All
right, we got about a minute left. So a lot of non-essential businesses got these grants. So are the back to work grants taxable?
Okay, yes. So this is different than the PPP and the EIDL and all that other jargon we've been talking about. The Mississippi Back to Work grants, again, that is considered income replacement. It is taxable income on the federal. You still deduct the expenses that you paid with that money. On the state, it's the opposite. They leave it off of income, but you can't deduct the expenses. Net effect is exactly the same.
Okay, and real quick, my storm losses from Zeta, are those losses deductible?
Okay, it's not quick.
But they can be.
Maybe.
Okay. They can be. So you have to have insurance, you have to file a claim with insurance, and since it's a federally declared disaster area, yes, but there is a threshold to get over.
Yes.
Really?
So there's some hoops to jump through to get that to work.
So it's not, just like most things in taxes, just not one quick yes or no.
Okay, okay. Well, what they need to do is they probably need to just set up an appointment with the two of you.
There you go.
There you go.
Whatever. All right. Thanks for being on the show with us again this morning.
Thank
We'll
you,
see
Jim.
you
Thank
again
you for
next
having
month.
us.
Definitely. And if you'd like some more information, of course, Strojny Financial Services, located on Pass Road, Suite F in Gulfport or in Biloxi?
That one's Biloxi.
Biloxi. Biloxi.
We're in Gulfport too.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. You just go online. You'll find an office near you. Anyway, thanks again to Carrie and Jennifer Milligan for being here with us, and we'll see you again next time on another edition of Expert Alert.
If you have a question for any of our experts, go to WLOX.com and click on Expert Alert. For a list of any of our upcoming experts, go to WLOX.com and click on Expert Alert.